Good evening. All right, we'll get this started tonight. Thanks everybody for coming out this evening. I'd like to give a thank you to Jason Cervani over there running the show for us and all his extra work that he put into this tonight. Thanks to his wife. Yes. Thanks to Sherry too for her help back there, and to Ken for all his help getting this set up, and then to Wild Rose and their staff for the food and serving us. We appreciate it. So let's see here. Tonight we're going to be talking about a few of the great projects that we've had throughout the year, and we'll also talk about some of the upcoming projects that we have. We've got a couple great speakers lined up, and with that we will start the meeting. Right now we'll do our presentation of the GC directors renewing their 3-year terms as of 2023. Those up there, Jason? Okay, we've got Brian Hill, Chad Stevens, Doug McDermott, Jamie Dobendick, Lori Mantle, Mark Bauer, Mason Adams, Norm Fandel, Peg Rainey, Rick Moraine, and Sid Jones. So their terms ended in 2022, so they've all agreed to come back on. And at this time, I'll take a motion to accept them for another 3-year term. All right, and we got a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Carol Aaron Holtz, she said nay. Just kidding. All right. Now we have our officers and executive board. Get to that page here. So our officers for 2022 are Sid Jones, President. Myself, Scott Weber, as Vice President. Jim Ober as Treasurer. Rick Moraine, Secretary. Norm Fandel, Past President. And then our remainder of our executive committee is Mike Palmer from the City of Jefferson, Pete Bardole representing Greene County Board of Supervisors, Harry Aaronholtz from the City of Jefferson. We do have one at-large, and then Kristen Russell is our at-large at this time. So those will be our directors moving forward here. All right. With that, I will have Jim Ober, our treasurer, come up and give the financial status for us.
Thank you very much. I'm sure this is why you all came out here tonight, so I'll make sure we're very thorough and spend a lot of time on this. There's more treats over there if you do get hungry. Anyway, this is pretty easy for us. Jason does a fantastic job throughout the year, so again, credit to Jason. He's getting all the kudos tonight. But financially, we're sitting in pretty good shape here. When we look at the total bank accounts, we're sitting at 367,400 and some. And that was at the end of December. And then right now we're sitting at $422,000. When you take total current assets, including fixed assets, we're sitting at 1.1 million at the end of last year, and we're a little over 1.1 currently. So again, sitting very solid throughout the year. So as basic as you can get, year-end income was $249,465, expenses $249,504, for a loss of $39.61. So we're really stepping it up, being a nonprofit organization there. So we're right on the spot. So far this year, though, we're down a little bit. We've been doing a lot of investments in our diversity project, but income's at $146,000 and some change, and expenses to date just about $155,000, and setting at a loss for the year of almost $9,000. So special projects we carried over, and that would be really funds we use. A lot of that comes from Grow Green. But the special projects account, we carried over at the beginning of 2021, $43,600. And then Grow Green, last year, we received $80,000. And then the projects you see across there, the Early Learning Center, the Forge Project, the Gravitate, Highway 30, the diversity project and second story housing, that coming together, the project's funded $52,800. And so that left us with the carryover to the beginning of 2022 of just about $71,000. So this year, good year for Grow Greening, which many other places also receives funding. We got $100,000 put into the budget. And then a couple projects going on so far, Highway 30 study and the diversity project, which left us right now with a balance of $125,000 in that account. So there's the list of projects. I won't go through each one, but that's since 2015 of what's been spent out of the special projects account. As you can see, it's a pretty large number. We're over $500,000, $529,000. We have some extending commitments in the future here. So we've got another $40,000 going to the East State Properties, Jefferson City View. We got another $40,000 there. Scranton Housing Project, there's $10,000 to hopefully get that going. And then Nate Adams, we have $54,000 yet on that project. That's it. So Ken, we're going to go back to you. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm not going to really speak, so I'll just stay down here also. The good news for you is I'm not going to speak. We've done a video, and what it does is it talks about the projects that we've been working on for the last 12 months since the annual dinner last year. You'll see what the focus is. The preview is this housing and diversity project, but we'll just let the video do what it says, and hopefully you'll enjoy it, and hopefully you'll get some information out of it. So anyway, I want to echo what Scott said and thank you all for your help and your support to make these kind of things happen. Without you, we sure wouldn't have any of these things to be able to show you. So thank you very much for supporting us, and hope you'll stick with us for another year, and hopefully we'll continue to provide things that support and help our community.
All right, thanks Ken for that video. Every year I'm always amazed by what we accomplish. And when I moved here 8 years ago and got to be a part of economic development, from that time on, it's always been about housing, restaurants, daycare, and multiple of other things. But as you can see by that video, we've invested a considerable amount of time and money and resources into making those things happen. And another thing that we keep hearing about is our shrinking population, open jobs, and we've also been trying to curb that. And so with that, up next is our first presenter for the evening, and I'll let him give a little bit more information about himself, but Carlos Arguello.
Good evening, everybody. I do not have an awesome soundtrack like Jason put together, so you're gonna have to bear with me and hopefully not fall asleep here after dinner with my slides. Are they up? Yep, okay. Is it going?
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Just look back.
Okay, perfect. All right, well, good evening. Carlos Arguello. I work with a company, or for a company called Latino IQ. We were here almost 12 months ago now, really talking about the project and kind of what the idea and the vision behind this is. So it's been a great journey over the last 12 months. Lots of work really put in. Some of it you saw on the video that Ken and Jason shared. And really, if you think about the amount of time that we spend, we really are only spending about 20 hours a month on Nueva Vida. So for the stuff that we've done, the milestones that we've hit this year, it's really impressive to really think about where we are today. So with that, what I wanted to do today is really give you just a little bit of an update as to where we are and really what is it that we've really been working on and kind of just thinking about the project overall. So if you were here about 12 months ago, or if you went to any of the town hall meetings, you know that Nueva Vida in Greene County, really it's about a three-pronged approach. We have the work component, where we really are looking at how we help our employers really recruit for the many open positions that are available today. We have the live component, where we think about the community and how we bring more income into the community, how we think about new folks living in the area, and really thinking about the cultural component when it comes to integration and enrichment from that level. And then the third component is what I call the play component. And that's really just about the options, about making Greene County a destination for people that passes by every single day on the highway, but then also for the families that are here today in our county that really don't view Greene County or Jefferson as a place where they like to go and stay and shop, eat, dine, entertainment, and all those good things. They really think about bigger cities, Des Moines, Council Bluffs, Omaha, Kansas City, places like that are nearby that have more amenities that we have here today. So really, that's the component of the three-pronged approach. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into really what that looks like. Is it advancing? Did it advance? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the helping our employers component, or the work component. What is this really about? Well, As I said earlier, we have about 200 open positions today in Greene County across our various major employers. We know that if we don't lend a help to these employers, it's really going to become, it already is, but it's going to become that more difficult to really think about how they look at the labor pool opportunities here in Greene County. So our thought is that if we take a look at how we might be able to leverage a low-hanging fruit that we have in our market, which is the Latino labor force, we're able to help our local employers really fill some of these open positions that are available today in their workplace. But before we think about hiring and bringing a Latino labor force or a diverse labor force to any of our employers, we have to really be methodical and strategic about how we do this. What are the elements that we got to have in place at each place of employ, and really thinking about what that protocol and system looks like. So we first started thinking about the needs assessment and really going and talking to every single employer about what is it that you need? What are the positions that you have available? How do you fill these today? And what are the major requirements for you as an employer of these potential candidates to make sure that they can come in through your front door and be able to assimilate themselves to your work culture and your surroundings. The second element is the systems and tools. And really what that really boils down to is, how do we design and implement tools to be able to better capture the leads that are coming in or will be coming in through the advertisements into the actual organization. Most major employers in Greene County today have an HR department. They have systems and protocols in place that allows them to take somebody from a recruit all the way to a new hire. But how do you do that with a new labor force? And what are the elements that you have to think about or put in place to be able to capture this new labor force? So we spent some time designing and implementing some of these systems and tools. The third component is what you have there in yellow, and it's readiness. And when you think about readiness, you might be thinking about, well, what in the heck do these employers have to think about readiness for? They're already in business, right? They're already working. They're manufacturing products and services. They're ready to rock and roll. Well, readiness is about thinking about the culture, thinking about the processes, thinking about the procedures that it requires for any organization to bring in a diverse labor force. And believe it or not, that is what most organizations get wrong today. When they go out and advertise new jobs and they don't think about how they integrate, how they recruit, how they onboard, how they really retain that diverse labor force, really that expenditure really is for nothing, because most of the time we see a high rotation in employees. So we want to make sure that we look at that readiness component with each employer, ask some questions, understand their internal procedures, and really figure out if there's any blind spots that we have to think about and work with each individual employer. Readiness is also about the employees of each employer, right? It's not only the organization that has to get ready. It's not only the HR team that has to think about, can you guys hear me? Oh, thank you. So it's not only the HR department and the leadership that have to think about how you bring in a labor force that's different than the one that we have available today. We have to think about the employees that are currently there and how they're going to react, how they're going to work with, and how they're going to integrate with a labor force coming in that is different than theirs. So we have to think about that component in the readiness component as well. Next up is storytelling, and this is my favorite of all the components, and that's really, how does each employer provide their value proposition to the folks they're looking to hire? So if I'm Jim Ober over here, or if I'm the hospital, or if I'm Travis here at the casino, how do we build that story? How do we build that value proposition that says, hey, you should come and work here versus going down the road. Because here we have X, Y, and Z that sets us apart than our neighbors down the road. And many employers really think about that as just as simple as just putting a job post ad and having an Indeed account, or having a funnel that lets you bring in the actual employees. But guess what? That's what every single employer does. So if you're doing that, how are you really separating yourself? How are you differentiating your company, your organization, your culture, your products and services that you put out? How are you selling to me as a candidate that I should come and work for you when I have a zillion other options that I could consider today because of the job force and the marketplace that's out there today? So storytelling is that element where we work with every single employer to say, why are you special? Why are you different? And why should they care about you versus going next door to the next employer that's also hiring? The fourth component there in light blue is the advertise component. That's something that we just started over the last 60 days. And that's just really pretty obvious and pretty straightforward, right? Advertising, utilizing special channels to really get the word out there for the open positions that each employer has available, and really being surgical in terms of the targeting of where we put these ads, what's the channel, and really, again, what's the story that they tell. And obviously the fourth component is pretty self-explanatory as well, is obviously hiring, right? So when we send an offer to somebody, when Travis extends an offer here for the casino to a candidate, how does that really work for the following process when it comes to onboarding, training, and then obviously employee success that equates to retention? So those are the elements that we're thinking through and have spent really a serious amount of time making sure that each employer is looking at this and working with them very, very closely. Yes? Okay. So here you have a few examples. The first one is an example of a ad that we're running right now across the market for New Way. It's very straightforward. I know it's in Spanish, so you probably don't understand what it says, but there's various different types of ads out there in various Spanish medias as well as English medias across the region, really advertising the positions that, in this case, New Way has available. In this situation, is very straightforward. It's about really talking a little bit about New Way, what makes them special, stating the jobs that are available, the pay, the perks, the benefits, and really how we make it very easy and straightforward for them to find us and to come in and apply for the position. The next example is another ad. This one specifically is an ad that we ran, that we continue to run, really talking about the business opportunities and the entrepreneurs we are looking for to come and consider Greene County and consider Jefferson to either expand their current business or come over and consider launching their business for the first time here in Greene County. The next item is I wanted to show you what we call our live receptioning protocol. So one of the things that we talked about earlier is those systems and processes, right? So what happens when somebody sees our ads? How do they interact with us? How do they get with us to find out more information? And how do they apply to the job that they saw being advertised? So what you see here is a tool that we use called Live Receptionist. It's available 24/7, 365, and it's bilingual. So if I see a ad, if I see that New Way ad that we just talked about, there is an 800 number that corresponds with every single employer that we are working with. There we have a script, that details just the need to know information about each position, and then we capture that data, capture that candidate, and then we route that to each employer's HR team or recruitment team so that they're able to follow up with them and obviously get them to come in to apply. As you can see here, this type of a script is pretty straightforward. It has basically two branches. Number one, if they are calling about the job positions, we tell them a little bit about the jobs, what they are, what the responsibilities, and the pay. If they're calling about any other question, we still capture that lead, and then we send that information over to the employer. In addition to this live answering service or live receptionist service, we have a texting platform also that's dedicated and applicable to each employer with their number, where we can have live conversations in real time via text messaging. Did I go through? Yeah? Okay. So, helping employers, that's a little bit about what we're doing and kind of what the activities have been over the last 10 months. What are the key activities that we have to think about? What's really in front of us to really aim at that main priority with Nueva Vida, which is really to help fill the hundreds of jobs that we have available? Well, number one, we have to really continue to advertise these jobs. We have to measure and make sure that we continue to spend where it makes sense, where we're getting good value. And then we also have to be able to adjust so that obviously we're being good stewards of our budget. We have to continue with the employer readiness. This is something that most employers really don't think about too often, but it's an area where we can really button up and be able to look at some blind spots to be able to be better at the recruitment and retention component. We also have to think about what training we bring in, and really working with IXU Extension, we plan to really connect the employers with that organization to really think about the items that make sense from a cultural labor force standpoint. Things like DEI training, sensitivity training, target and culture informational training, really the elements that all the hiring managers and the leadership and the folks that are going to be interacting with this labor force really needs to know to be able to understand and be able to have a good working environment. We also have to think about the employee transportation component. You saw that on Jason and Ken's video reel. In January, we're looking to start our first route, which will go from Grimes through Perry into Greene County. And the idea there is just to really get started and look at some of the population of workforce that we have that are commuting into Greene County today, where we can help, and then be able to roll this out very soon to other routes based off of employer need. A secondary route that we would like to get going as soon as we get done with the first one is a western route, which would go from Denison, Carroll into Jefferson and Greene County. Moving on to the live and the play component. I kind of bunched these up together so that way I'm not being too long-winded in each individual item. But as you can see, on the live side of things, we talked about trying to bring in more income to Greene County via sales tax and other forms. Well, one of the things that we did in August is we had an event where Latino businesses came and toured open retail locations and sites that are available here in Jefferson. It was a phenomenal event, first of its kind. We had close to 20 business owners that gave up their day to come to look at the sites here in Jefferson, listen to the opportunity that lies within, the incentives, got to meet the people, the community, and it was a phenomenal event. We had businesses from the Carroll area, from Storm Lake, Denison, Coon Rapids, and then different parts of Nebraska that came and made the trip to really consider Jefferson. The types of businesses varied a little bit, and they ranged from retail, food, service, entertainment, and even the arts. We toured 12 sites in Jefferson specifically, including the GCDC lots. We looked at several of the major employers, looked at the high school, looked at some of the projects that we have going on in Jefferson, such as the middle school, the daycare, and the 3-block project, I think is what they call that area over there. And really, again, it was a phenomenal event with amazing results. What do I mean about amazing results? Well, as of today, we have 5 businesses that have high interest in coming to Jefferson. 3 of them have been back for second visits where they brought their business partner or their spouse to take a look at the location. Several of them are looking into funding opportunities, and a few of them are also interested in applying for the forgivable loans, grants, and other available options that are available through the city and through the county. We have one business who's looking at securing some of the GCDC lots that we have available, and then we have 2 families looking at housing options today to look to move to Jefferson, and are also applying at some of our major employers in Jefferson. So that's a big deal. Even though you look at that and you say, what, 5 businesses? Well, our goal was only 1. Really, when we think about having families think about moving to Jefferson, to be honest, I did not expect it right away. So for us to really have a couple families considering this is a very big deal. To put this to scale, there's no other development corporation in this state that has had an event like this, period, let alone have the results that we have here today. So that's a big, big deal. So my next slide goes a little bit into what Jason and Ken shared in the video, and that's on the live component and thinking about cultural enrichment, cultural integration. When you think about culture enrichment and culture integration, one of the most crucial components to this program, if you think about it, boils down to one key thing: education. Education on both sides. For us as a community to really understand what we need to know, why, when, and what we need to know specifically now. And then also for those folks that are coming in or will come in, whether they're businesses or community members, what they need to know about us. So culture integration is very, very important. As you saw on that video, we've had several events over the last 10 months that really has gone down to that important level of really educating our community. We've done this in April and May through the town hall meetings. We did it in June through the Bell Tower Festival. We did it in August with our Storm Lake panel that was, I believe, in this very same room with over 100 people in attendance. And we are doing it here in this month with Art on the Square, where we're going to have several cultural components tied to the festival, again, to continuously drip on our community what really diversity means in a local community such as ours. We also look at this on a monthly basis with our various subcommittees that Chuck Offenberger, who's not here, I don't think, leads, that really work on thinking about our organizations, our towns, our institutions such as City Hall, the police department, the schools, all those elements that really have to understand what culture integration really means at our level. So with that, upcoming priorities. Where are we really working on now here in September? And what do we have planned for the rest of the month? Well, employer readiness continues. I look forward to working with Travis and Kelly here at the casino to really take a look at that from their standpoint. We are planning to continue to advertise aggressively the open positions. And by the way, when we think about advertising, what we're doing right now is we're taking one major employer on a per month basis and rotating every other employer in every single month to be able to allow them to tell their story through their ads. So this month we've been working with New Way, next month we'll have a different employer, so on and so forth. We have the Latino Business Tour follow-ups. Like I said, we have several businesses that are really jonesing, quote unquote, to really go to the next step. So we really want to make sure that we follow up and we really try to finalize and really make that sale with these businesses. By the way, one question that I get quite often is, why are you bringing businesses to Jefferson or to Greene County if there's not that many Latino folks here? All right, maybe some of you are thinking about that right now. Why would you bring all these folks if their target market is not here for their business? Their target market is not Latinos. Their customers, their target market is all of you. When we think about the retail businesses they have, we have the service businesses, the food, all those elements that I chose, they are bringing these businesses here for you, for the community. The Latino market that they look to serve once Greene County grows, that's icing on the cake. That's a market that they can acquire very easy, but you are the first market that they want to acquire. So that's one of the things that we want to do, follow up with these businesses, answer their questions, finalize their incentive package to make sure that we get them here and get them here as soon as possible. We also have to think about community and organization readiness. So again, working with the city, working with the county, working with some of the institutions here in town, such as the schools, we need to make sure that as we think about bringing newcomers in the area, all of our boxes are crossed and all of our systems and procedures are already in place, so that we don't have the issues that we hear other communities have had in the past, trying to integrate a new community coming into their area, aka Storm Lake, aka Denison, aka Webster City, and some of those places that sometimes you see in the news where they've had some headaches and issues trying to bring in a new population to the community. We also plan to do a fall/or winter job fair. We had pretty great success with the first job fair where a lot of our employers were able to make some hires. So we want to continue that. We want to fine tune it and tweak it a little bit, but we want to continue that process. We also want to continue the process of our town hall meetings, making sure that we're able to communicate to the community, let them ask us questions that we can answer, and have that open dialogue to make sure that everybody understands what the program is and we're able to talk in an open setting. And then we also plan to make sure that we fortify our subcommittees. Today, under Nueva Vida in Greene County, we have 4 subcommittees. We have a culture integration subcommittee. We have a faith-based committee. We have an arts and entertainment committee. And then we have a sports committee, which its main focus today is soccer. So we want to make sure that we continue to develop these, right, so that we are ready to, again, integrate and welcome these folks, our newcomers, when they come to the area and we grow our population. Other items. I'm wrapping up here. I just want to give you a quick couple things to think about. Number one, we are at a different spot than we were 12 months ago. 12 months ago, we did not have any competition that was nearby. Today, that's different. Today, just down the road, there are people thinking about how they can leverage the success that we are having so far with the program, add a couple bolts and nuts to it, and be able to roll that out because they are also having the same issues down the road. So we have to be careful, we have to be smart, but we also have to be aggressive because we know that there is a community or communities really that have the manpower, that have the bandwidth, that have the power, and have the means to be able to get out of the gates very, very quick, which, if they do, those results will certainly affect us if we're not ready for those. What slide is that? Okay. We are also seeing more development from other communities who are known for their diversity that are also heating up things and being innovative with what they're doing. This is an ad of an award that Storm Lake received just this year. They got the Local Government Excellence Award, which, by the way, is an international award for diversity and openness in their community and the different facets within. This has garnered national and international notoriety, and it's something, again, that as we think about what Nueva Vida shapes to be and how we are looking at our end goal, we have to keep a very, very close eye on that, because obviously that is one of the markets that we want to recruit from and be able to take a look at how they did things. And I think that should be my last slide. With that, that is the update. I do want to hit one quick thing before I leave. Number one, two quick things, sorry. Number one, that's my contact info. If any of you guys have any questions, any thoughts, or wish I would have said something I didn't cover today, please reach out. Be glad to talk to anybody about the details of the program. But then number two, and more importantly, sometimes when I come to Greene County and I get a chance to talk to people from the community, one of the questions I get asked is, hey, why is this only exclusive to Latinos? Why are you really only looking at this demographic group? And I get that question quite a lot. And I think that maybe we get that question because we haven't done a good job, or as good enough job as we should have, really explaining what this is about. So I just want to make sure that I take the opportunity while I have the mic to explain that. Nueva Vida in Greene County is not exclusive to the Latino population. Nueva Vida in Greene County puts its priority, its initial focus on the Latino population purely because of the demographics that we have in front of us in our market. If we look at our labor force today, and we look at the different subgroups that are available for us to recruit, the Latino population is one of the biggest group available for us today, who are actively looking for jobs, who are very young in nature, meaning that if we hire them and we make them fall in love with our place of employ, they'll be here for quite a while. They're not retiring anytime soon. And they share some of the same values that we share in rural Iowa: faith, family, and community. So I just want to reiterate that this is not exclusive to the Latino population. If we have a huge group of Ukrainians come, or any other group come, and we know we have an opportunity to convert those folks to employees, we'll figure out a way how to reach out to them. The priority, the initial focus, is among Latinos because of the sheer number, the sheer size, and the value proposition that that group provides. So I just want to take a moment to explain that, and if you get any friends or neighbors or families, colleagues, whoever, who ask you about that, please pass that along, will you? Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, thanks, Carlos. And just to kind of expand too on what he just said, you know, we've gotten state recognition and national recognition for this project, and that gets us out into a whole host of other people, and shows that Greene County is a great place to live and work, and we've got the jobs available. So that's what we're focusing on. So up next, somebody that doesn't need an introduction, so I'm not going to give him one. Just kidding. Up next is Chris Deal, and I think we just reserve a spot up here for him every year because there's always something. I tell you who he works for, but I don't even think he knows most days. So, but
right there.
Oh, okay. Yep, mom and dad are all right. So, nope. Up next we have Chris Deal, and he's going to give us an update on second-story housing.
Is the clicker up there? Thanks, man.
Is that the one?
I think so. Trying to find out. All right. Well, thank you, Scott, for such a kind welcome. If it's all right, I'm going to wander up here, in part because I'm physically unable to stay at a podium, but also as my table is so kind to point out, Carlos had fantastic shoes, and I can't hang with those. No, I'm here. I'll take a few minutes to talk and provide an update on some of the housing projects that are going on in the community, and then leave time, if there is any interest, for Q&A at the end. I should say first, thank you for the opportunity, GCDC, to be up here one of the unique things and I think one of the main pieces of the short presentation I've got here is how unique it is that we have so many organizations in this community that work so well together. And GCDC very much is a critical part of that. And so hopefully as we go through this, you'll see that again and again, what working together can create and the potential it can provide. So we're going to talk about this beauty right here, what has now become known as the City View Building, 200 East State. This I grabbed off of, I think, Google Maps a few years ago before they updated, just as a reminder of what it did look like not too long ago. All right, let me see. Hey, even got, okay, we got the pointer working. So this is a building we've been watching for a while. This actually is an excerpt from a report. The state had reached out, this probably was 2019 or so. Debbie Durham, Paul Trombino, who at the time was kind of acting as Governor Reynolds' COO, came in and said, hey, what's stopping housing from happening? Why isn't housing happening here yet in this community? Please give us examples of what's stopping you. And so this building actually was one that we worked on providing a pretty detailed analysis of. Here's all the impediments that are stopping us from taking it and rehabbing the second story on it. And so there's the excerpt of a couple pages on that report that we put together. And so way back when this started, some of the challenges, one, it was owned by an out-of-state bank, had squatters living on second floor at the time, vacant and or storage space on first floor, and some significant structural issues. And so enter the first critical partner in this project, the City of Jefferson. And so I know we've got a few representatives, councilmen from the city. This is unique, and I think sometimes we take this for granted. The fact that our city was willing to come in and take on a building like this. And so they got it for all of $100, and at that point they probably overpaid for it with the status of that building. But they recognized that it was an important building. It was a building that was one of our corner buildings for our downtown square. It was a building that if that thing goes away, what's going to go in its place is not going to be what that is even then, and what it could mean to the downtown. And so city came in and to their credit acquired the building, like I said, for all of $100. And started to work on building stabilization. And so many of you probably remember parapet walls coming down and continuing to kind of work through that. And so eventually building was stabilized. They also had the opportunity, we'll call it an opportunity, but part of the second story, the interior was about to collapse, and so they rebuilt a portion of that. And sat there for a while and realized that, well, it still had a long way to go for that building to be occupiable for a third party to come in, a private party to come in. And so city took the next step, replaced the windows, and so we'll just go back and look at what those windows used to be. Some nice block there, an attempt at a Frank Lloyd Wright, I think, and then up here fitting inside with the arches, but came back and actually, again, to their credit, provided some historically accurate windows, did the tuck pointing, the painting, and brought that building envelope back to a point that was far more appealing. And so at that point then, started to get some interest. And so hopefully you can see this is the space that was the west half of first floor. I wish I could find a picture of what it looked like before this. Many of you may remember with the 8-foot ceilings, the small rooms in there. And so this is after some of that was torn out, but then fast forward and this is what it turned into. And so kind of a reminder of what these buildings can provide, that again, if these things disappear, if these historic buildings, we're probably not going to come back and build like this, or with the potential to be something like this. So this obviously, when Heartland occupied the space and kind of was willing to come in and show what was potential. What was the potential? Now at that point, another kind of an updated analysis was done, and okay, would it make sense with a occupied first floor, with another first floor vacant space to come in and effectively purchase the building as a third party and fit out the upper story and go through it, and with the appraisal and everything, it still didn't cash flow. And so that's the challenge with these historic buildings, with these downtown, especially in rural communities, is the appraisal of a building like this leaves such a gap. And so you have to, again, continue being creative, finding different things that can be done, and bringing partners to the table. And so other side, we identified, and very much an appropriate use of the term we, but GCDC, through the Vision 2020 process, identified co-working as a need for this community, as something that would be beneficial for this community. And so enter Jeff Wood and gravitate into the picture, and the interest in finding a spot in the community. And the space right next to what was Heartland at that time was identified. This is what it looked like. Again, 8-foot ceilings. It had been divided down the middle at one point. This is what, when that ceiling was uncovered, what it looked like. And that turned into what is now Gravitate. And partnerships, again, City of Jefferson, huge through that. Gravitate being willing to put their own money into this project and take the risk of coming to a rural community there first. The State of Iowa, Rural Innovation Grant, and then GCDC, as you might have seen with Jim's enthralling report. Jim, I love it. I'm a numbers guy. Thank you. But GCDC was very much a part of that. And so thank you. Again, trying to lower that threshold to help get another business into the community, and one that through Vision 2020 and through a lot of what we've heard is a piece that people are looking for. If they're going to move here, they want to work remotely, but maybe they don't have a space where they can work out of, or maybe they want a space to get away from in their own house. And so this being a part of that bigger picture of what we're trying to do. And then we ran that same analysis, and what was surprising and what we conveyed back to the state is that even after you have 2 first floor fully occupied buildings, the cost to renovate second story still wasn't something that'd be totally privately funded. And so there was still this gap. And so the state, to their credit, they rolled out a new program. It's through the CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant Program, and it was specifically targeted at upper story housing in smaller communities, and taking buildings like this and helping bring them back, and helping to bring back occupants in downtown communities like here in Jefferson. And so this building, this project was awarded one of 2 of those in 2020, the first year that they rolled this program out. And those were coupled with historic tax credits, both state and federal, a process that we figured out on the building next door, and that certainly opened up a few more opportunities in terms of what we could do with the fit out on the project. A big part of this, again, GCDC was a portion of this. It was $10,000 on what ended up being in total $1 million project, with building acquisition, with the build out costs for the second story. And so you look at it, 10,000 out of $1 million, that's 1%, wahoo. But that's at the beginning, and that's critical. That's that at-risk money that's the most volatile early on, getting that architect, getting the information you need to go apply for these grants. And so that's huge. So a big thank you to GCDC for their special projects fund that allows things like that to happen, because without it, a lot of times those projects never get off that first step, get off the first base, because it's so much at risk. So a huge thank you to GCDC, everybody here who's a part of that. And then with this, we brought in conventional financing as well. And so what we started with up on second floor, here's some of the glamour shots, some really classy 1970s era wood paneling. This was a portion of it, literally when the city had to come in and stabilize, kind of chopped and just left what was there. 2 layers of gyp on each side with studs turned, and so they found a way to put as much mass as possible into that little tiny wall there. Some really nice, if only we had better coloring, some really nice bathroom fixtures left over, classic artwork. Here's what the walls and the ceilings look like. Top-notch facilities up there. This is the corner that looks out over the downtown, kind of where the idea of calling this building the City View Building came from. Again, this is what it looked like after the city came in and put in the new exterior windows. Take note, this line right here is where that ceiling used to be. And so they dropped those ceilings. It wasn't even possible with those ceilings to put in the top of those windows back then. And then this is that back. This is what what was taken out because it was structurally in such poor condition that just was not safe to maintain at all. This is what was left. This is the good stuff. Notice that nice little bow there. And so that was one of the conditions, the existing conditions that got to be resolved here in the build out of the project. And so again, the 10,000 GCDC grant, this is where went out, found an architect who could take the existing second story floor plan. Here's that central corridor coming up. Had 2 apartments on the west, one big one on the east, this vacant building and the wall that goes to nowhere. That's that picture you saw of everything just chopped off. And turn that into, this is easier to see. So here's the 3 apartment layout that they came out with. And so a 1 bedroom here in the corner, actually wrapped around, did some structural modifications here to fit a 2 bedroom in the back, and then another 1 bedroom here on the southeast corner. And so here's a few before and after pictures. I should say after-ish. Would have been wonderful if we had a couple more weeks, because as you'll see in a few of these pictures, we are very close to actually finishing this thing up. You'll see some appliances lying around, so we're not quite there. These pictures were from this morning. I may or may not have remembered last night that I was speaking today, and so had a great opportunity to get very, very up-to-date pictures of what this build-out looks like. So this is the corridor up on second story there. It's hard to tell with kind of the lighting here. Added about 3 feet to the ceiling height in here. Brought back the historic original wood floors. A fun thing we found through the historic tax credit process, we believe this building was 1880 when we started for the build out date. So one of the older ones in the community. Found out it's 1871. And so built 6 years after the Civil War. It is what we believe the oldest building in our downtown. So fascinating what you can find when you get to dig through all the old historic information. But original wood stairs, we believe. So I don't think we have any of that nice carpet left. Unfortunate for any of you carpet collectors, shag carpet. Came back, again, not quite finished. Some painting, trim work that still needs to happen up here. This is so flashback. Here's what that corner looks like before city acquired it, after city did the build out, and then after the ceiling collapsed, before we did the next build out, and then here's what it looks like this morning. And so with the finished ceilings, about a 12-foot height here, just a gorgeous view of downtown. And for the right price, the project plans can come with the apartment rental. I think maybe the garbage can too. Here's that back corner, what it looked like. Here's that apartment now. And so if you were standing right here about to jump off, now you look, and here's the kitchen, a refrigerator that's ready to be pushed back into that corner. Turn around, looking out the back side of the building there, and then turning and looking down into the interior hall of the unit. A bathroom sliding, a barn door here. Kind of a fun thing to keep. Fun historic item. There's a window into the bathroom on this unit. We are going to frost the glass though. So lots of little fun, unique nuances we've brought back. And then the third apartment, again, standing in there, found some skylights, historic skylights in there, so brought them back. This is the kitchen on it. Turn around and look out. Some transom windows. This is a big, again, 12-foot tall ceilings in here, the bedroom for it. And there'll be some sliding barn doors in there that are almost ready to be hung. And then this is that corner unit, the city view unit. Again, this is the picture we saw before. This is if you turn around and look at the kitchen behind you. A few other pieces, fun to point out, historic flooring. This is original fir flooring. This is oak. Probably 1940s era when this was brought in. The fir is underneath it. We opted to keep the oak just because we didn't know what condition the fir was going to be. All of it looks great. We kept as many of the historic elements as we could. This is one of the bedrooms in that back 2-bedroom apartment. Instead of a big closet with kind of your traditional closet doors, there were 3 historic doors that were left, and so the architect came up with the idea of having 3 doors that opened into a common closet. A fun way to keep some of those historic doors. 1 historic ceiling we were able to maintain. I'm going to nerd out, engineer here. And so bathrooms, really cool plumbing fixtures, but then also you can't see only a small portion of it, but high efficiency HVAC units came in. So one of the pieces, the tenants will obviously pay their own utilities, and so putting something in so they're not going to be paying an arm and a leg in terms of the electric costs, have their own individual water heaters. I can talk all day about PEX plumbing. I'll spare you that right now. And then the ability to have washer dryer, or a washer dryer included in each of the units as well. With this build out and kind of continuing to talk through the building, second story, like I said, we hope within the next week or 2 we'll have the full occupancy approved. We've got a couple plumbing fixtures that need to get set. Actually, it was just here recently that we got the tiling, as in either Friday or yesterday. No, today. Today's Monday. Friday or today that this tile was laid, so the electrical devices are going to be installed here soon, plumbing fixtures, and then we're going to have the ability to get occupancy and really start to wrap this thing up. Through this whole process, kind of exciting. Heartland obviously built their new facility, which is wonderful, out on Highway 4, and so we had a vacant space, and so a new business came to town. So very excited to have Warm Wishes in the first floor, and so go and check it out. These are old pictures. I think they were taken last night, or at least Kristen was kind enough to send them to me last night to include in the presentation. So that's kind of where we're at on the City View building. Very close, living it kind of day to day. I'd say painfully close, but we are about to wrap that one up, and we're really excited. Plan is to have a public open house. Everybody can go in and see. In a perfect world, I'll have a few of those before pictures, so you can stand there and look at before and see the after. Don't hold me to that, simply because it's September, and we got a couple other things going on. So other upper story project. So the contractors, Woodruff Construction, who is working on the project up above City View, they did the Forge project. I've done a really nice job with these projects. They come in and they've got a structure we've used with this historic tax credits. They're going to roll over to this project next and focus on getting the second story done. This has been one that's been a long process as well, as with any of these projects where you're trying to bring together several different financing sources and take an old historic building that needs some TLC. It takes a while to line everything up, and so we're ready to roll into this one. There'll be 6 apartments on the second story of it, and excited to be able to get this one underway. Once the apartments are done, plan is to roll into that the restaurant project on first floor. So still very much in the works. Lots and lots and lots of paperwork and coordination with architects and contractors, historians through this one, and then working with banks and state and feds, and so lots going on, but we're excited about this one to be able to kick it off here very soon and continue kind of working through downtown and bringing some of these really unique and really special buildings back. Hey, that's all I put together. Questions? Thanks.
Chris, you want to talk about the Forge?
Yeah. So Teresa asked about, Ms. Green asked about the Forge. So next door, obviously, to City View building is the Forge. A question if I had a nickel every time I got asked about what's going on there. So the most recent update for when I get probably every few months an update from an Accenture on how things are coming. With pandemic, they shut down, as everybody's aware, and so they are still fully remote, but continuing the training through the program that was set up through the Forge and the idea of working with the Career Academy and providing that pathway into software development. And so I had a chance to speak with one of the students who went through, I think he came up through the DMAC program, but he went through the training. One thing that changed when the idea originally came out was that Accenture would provide training at no cost to students after high school, after they'd gone through the Career Academy. They changed that. They actually now pay for the training. And so students finish Career Academy, can go and get paid, I think it's roughly $20 an hour to be trained in software development. And at the end of that, they have the opportunity to go into an apprenticeship. This student went through, was looking at the apprenticeship, and got an offer instead to work remotely for a software development company out of Georgia, and they offered him $85,000 for a starting salary. So still some good progress. Another one of the fun stories, the group with, I think it was again the DMAC, the provost out of Carroll who's been helping with the DMAC training program, they had students who'd gone through the internship, the $20 an hour training, and they set up a call between those students and then the next set of students. They're called cohorts, so between second cohort and third cohort. And the first question after they explained what was going on from incoming cohort, third cohort to second cohort was, is this real? And so understanding we're about to get paid $20 an hour for effectively our college education and open up these pathways. And so there still very much is that pathway, that possibility there. I think what we've seen is that it's been less public, less publicized since the pandemic came about. And so the awareness of the program probably, I think definitely is not where we would like it to be. And so numbers, I think we could still have a lot of upside potential there, but there certainly is that possibility that's been created for students who are interested in that pathway. Yeah, take the mic from me. Good.
Thank you. Yep. All right. Thanks, Chris. And as those pictures were amazing, that turned out very well, and we got moved out just in time before the demolition, and I'm pretty sure we heard that ceiling collapse when we were working one day. So
Yeah, thanks for that call about that.
You're welcome. So thanks again for that. Just real quick to wrap things up, I'd like to take this time and thank the City Council and the city for their support for GCDC. I'd like to thank Greene County and the supervisors for their support. I'd like to thank Rural Greene County and their members for their support, and us, all of our local members and businesses that support us through funding. All of this would not have been possible without that. A couple other things. I think, Jackie, the grand opening for the daycare is September 26th. So yes, exciting. And that was highlighted in there, warm wishes. I think Kristen's here. Yep. So congratulations. That's very neat. The Centennial, that's all up and running. If you haven't ate there yet, go there. And of course, I know I'm forgetting a lot of them, but lots of great things happening in Greene County. Thank you for everybody for coming out tonight and taking your time. I hope you see what all of our members and board members and executive board members, all the time and effort and money and resources that we put in to make this a great place to live and grow. Thank you and have a great evening.